まずはじめに、ジョージワシントン大学教授、ヤン・ダーチン先生にご講演いただきます。
Governor, Vice Governor, distinguished guest, good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this very important forum. Personally, it's a very moving moment for me. I was born and raised in the city of Nanking in China. It had a long history of relationship with Okinawa. And now I work in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, which also has a very important relationship with Okinawa. And today it's the first time for me to wear the karaoke shirt, and this gave me an opportunity to feel like a local Okinawan resident. I'm a historian, so I would like to emphasize the importance of study history for understanding East Asian security. Because the current realities are the consequences of history, both intended and unintended. At the same time, the lessons of history can shape current and future realities. So how do we look at history and find useful lessons for East Asian security? I would like to borrow from my mentor, Irie Akira. He proposed that the actors in international affairs be viewed as powers and cultures. And international relations are both interpower and intercultural relations. Of course, power refers to both economic power and military power. And culture is both an internal outlook and outward external projection. And today we often use the term soft power. So, according to Irie Akira, the study of international relations must include three categories: interpower relations, intercultural relations, and the relationship between these two sets of relations. What kind of security framework existed in East Asian history? I propose to look at the long history in three different periods. The first, from the 15th century to the mid-19th century, can be characterized as a period of long peace in the region as a whole. Of course, we had the tributary system that is built on the base of power and culture, with China at the center. In this case, China's economic power combined with the cultural power dominated East Asia. Even though this was a hierarchical, unequal system, it guaranteed security in maritime East Asia for most of the 400 years, in contrast to the constant interstate warfare in Europe. There were exceptions. For instance, the so-called Wako piracy, today we would call non-state violence. There were also nomadic conquest taking place on the continent. The only interstate warfare in these 400 years was probably the end of the 16th century when Hideyoshi invaded Korea, which brought Ming China into this decade-long warfare. Shortly afterwards, Satsuma domain of Japan sent forces to the Ryukyu kingdom in relation to the Hideyoshi invasion. The next phase is the modern era beginning from the 19th century. And in this period, the defining feature is strength and law, modern international law. In Western Europe, the industrial revolution, the capitalism enabled the West to become the dominant force in the world. At the same time, we have the rise of the Westphalian state system in Europe that emphasized territorial integrity and the legal equality of nation states. However, outside Europe, a different rule also applied. That is the survival of the fittest and colonialism and imperialism. When it comes to East Asia, we witness the decline of China, both as a power and as a culture, and the rise of Japan under the slogan Fukoku Kyohei, strong military, rich nation. Japan accepted the international terms, the use of international law, and we witnessed the examples such as the 1874 expedition to Taiwan in sharp contrast with China's reluctance to embrace modern international law. Japan not only succeeded in revising unequal treaties with the West, but also joined the Western powers to become the colonial power in Asia. So in 1905, Korea became a protectorate, followed by its annexation in 1910, which is almost exactly 300 years after the Satsuma invasion of Ryukyu Kingdom. In the following half century, East Asia witnessed many wars, and both interstate war and the civil war that reached the peak during World War II. And here in Okinawa, we witnessed one of the worst devastations in the Battle of Okinawa. After World War II, we have the Cold War, and although Okinawa was not directly a battleground, there were wars in neighboring Korea and Indochina. The last phase started around the mid-1970s. This is the period of the new globalization, characterized by economic and ecological interdependence, as well as human movement and acculturation. In the case of Europe, we have integration of Europe that transcended the traditional Westphalian nation-state system. This is also the period described as the rise of the West outside Europe and North America. And East Asia is one prime example of this economic, ecological interdependence as well as human movement. However, at the same time, we still have a military confrontation, even though total war between great powers have become unthinkable in the age of nuclear weapons. The actual threat of limited war is still possible. So we are in this last phase of transition from traditional concept of international order and security to a new one that will fit the age of globalization. And it is in this regard, I think this forum has a particular significant role to play to rethink fundamentally about approaches to security in East Asia. Finally, I would like to suggest Okinawa can serve as an anchor of this new East Asia security. Thank you very much.